What's up, guys? Welcome back to Mindset Matters. This episode is produced by Mindset Media and brought to you by the Empowerment Through Mindset Foundation. Cue the intro. So today we have with us a very special guest. We have Jacob Zaragoza.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me on the show, Jared.
So Jacob is you're welcome, by the way. So Jacob is a Dallas College student. So he is an SGA president. He's also the TJC SGA Region 2 secretary. He serves as the community programs officer for the Empowerment Through Mindset Foundation. So we're excited to get into talking about all of those things. But before we do that, I want to talk about your experience growing up, your origin story. So tell us a little bit about what life was like for you growing up and how that's made you who you are today.
So my journey has been a long, hard, but memorable one. So to put it into context, growing up, I was raised by my mom, and she was not able to have as much access to job opportunities because of the life she took on to support me and my older sisters at a young age. She got involved with crime, and was able to escape it by following God and choosing a different journey. And she always instilled with us that we always have an option and that we are here for a purpose. And I took that, and there would be more I would face. So whenever we were growing up, I remember at certain points, due to my mother being the main supporter of our family, we struggled to live in the area of Bishop Arts in Dallas. It's a slowly gentrifying area right now. Like before, I remember the streets were very quiet. No one would walk down them. These restaurants would be not as much live as they are now, and it's not what it looked like now. And slowly but surely, I started to see those things get taken away. And I remember when my godmother was forced to relocate as well, and eventually we were too. But I saw the signs from an early age. I just did not realize them at that moment. And then around that time, I was struggling with very bad anxiety because of just the way the family dynamic was, because of that pressure that having to support each other put on us. So like we saw how my mother struggled and how it would like intersect into us as the kids. And it wasn't pretty for a lot of it, but my mom did a lot of change and did it for the better for all of us. And slowly we were able to get out of it, but there was still that impact that was made on us. And so I struggled with bad anxiety, and I was going to school one day on Saturday because I was struggling in class. I had bad test anxiety, and I struggled in my academics, and so I was told I had to go to Saturday school for one weekend. And when I got there, I felt off, and I remember going into the classroom, and my fingers start to tingle, and it felt like electricity, and I didn't know what was going on, but my young mind was like, I'm probably overreacting, because at that young age, I knew like kids like me were probably overreacting for little things. And so I didn't want to make it a big deal. And so I kept going throughout the day, but it kept growing, and it started to spread all over me. And it went from my fingertips to my whole arm, then to my left arm, and then eventually to my legs. And it got to a point in which I struggled to walk to class. And I told my friend at that time that I don't feel good and I'm going to go get some water. But in case I don't come back, to let the teacher know so that way they can come get me, because I honestly don't know how I'm going to get through this. And so I went to go take a sip of water, and then I collapsed. And my teachers came, my friend saw it, and they called my mom. My mom honestly thought I was lying, which is crazy. But I mean, at that age, I would assume I could understand why. But nevertheless, she took me home, and from there we called the ambulance. And on the way to the ambulance, I was like freaking out, because I was like, I couldn't walk. I was like, one moment I was walking and then I wasn't, and I had no idea why. I was just doing my everyday thing, and it was taken away from me. And then on the ride to the hospital, my heart rate started to increase very rapidly, and I think, if I remember correctly, it was 182. And being 11 years old, you shouldn't have a heart pressure of 182. And so it told me I was lucky to even be here, but I was put through screenings and tests, and eventually they told me that I had a stroke, which at that time was understandable to why, because my family has struggled with like health related issues, and some have had strokes. And what next? We started to wonder, like, well, am I gonna be able to walk again? And they told me that, well, we honestly really don't know. And I was just devastated. That night, I remember just like sitting there, because I mean, all I could do was just watch TV. And I mean, when I was a young kid, I was like, so you mean to tell me I get to lay down, eat free food, watch TV, and people be nice to me? I was like, this is pretty great. Although it was sucked, I was like, that's pretty fun. I mean, I don't mind doing this. But then after the free food, after the TV, and when people were sleeping, I was up, and it ate at me the fact that this could be my reality. And I cried, and I was just hopeless, and I asked God, and I was like, why is this happening to me? But the next day, the doctors came in, and they told me that I could do physical therapy. And then that same morning, I tried to walk, and I took my first step, and what was it? I don't even think I was able to get up the bed, but they got me up the bed, and they tried to get me to walk, but I couldn't, like, at all. And I was just like, damn, like, how am I gonna do this? And so they gave me a stroller. I don't know if y'all seen the old people.
Yeah.
They walk with them. And I walked with it for a while, and eventually, after a week or two, I was discharged from the hospital and went back home. And whenever I came back home, I saw myself falling into that same cycle of just like avoiding the trauma and issues my family was facing, and just eating away at that with food. I was really chubby as a kid. I remember my heaviest was like maybe 180, 170, something like that, at 9 years old. So like, yeah, you don't want to be that. And so they told me that, oh no, they didn't tell me anything. So once I got back, I started to just saw myself falling into that same cycle, eating and just playing games. But whenever like you can't walk, like it does something, like you're forced to just stay there and sit with your thoughts. And so those thoughts ate at me, and they were not nice, and eventually I just couldn't take it no more. And I really tried to put more of an effort into learning how to walk and not just sitting there with the reality I was given. And so I kept walking and walking, and although I would fall a lot, I got back up and eventually was able to start walking again. Now running, you probably wouldn't get me to do that another 2 years, but I would walk, and I started to see like myself transform both mentally and physically. And that realization prompted me to just realize that my mindset was the main thing that was preventing me from doing the things I set out to do. And so I started just considering, what else in my life do I not want myself to continue to have, to be my reality. And so I started just sitting, and I would be back and forth. Actually, I would just be like, thank God I've been through this, I made it through, let's stop here, let's keep just living our life, we made it through. But then I would think I was given a second chance, and I didn't want to waste that. And so I kept moving, and eventually started to recognize that I had a big issue with eating, and took it very seriously. And it was my 6th grade summer whenever I started to fall out of relationships with my friends and started to grow away from my family. So it was just me. And I decided this was going to be the time that I used to change everything. Since I was not going to be like caught up with other people, I would just take this time for me. And so I started working out. First day, try to run. I don't know how to explain it. I think it was like a mile or something like that, which I had done before, but like I was a chubby kid, so that was like running a marathon. But I did it halfway, and then I was like, what the heck am I doing? Like, and what was it called? I cheated it, and so I stopped like at half a mile and just went straight back, and it was okay with it. But I knew eventually that I needed to keep going, though. If I'm gonna do these half miles, then I better be doing them like as much as I can. Or if I'm not gonna do that, then I better go all the way, because I knew I wasn't gonna give myself an excuse. Because I realized like it's either. So I said like to myself, I'd rather die doing what I can do to change my life rather than be given what life had given me. And so I took it serious, and I told myself like, I don't care, I'm gonna keep going, I'm gonna keep running. And I wouldn't do it long, because I just didn't want to be that uncomfortable. So I just kept going consistently, and I did that for a while. I didn't eat much at all, because I realized like this is what started that cycle, my relationship toward food. So I remember my diet back then used to be like, I used to eat like 6 burgers just in one sitting, 11 hot dogs, like 2 boxes of pizza by myself. I cut that out. I only ate pieces of bread and cheese if I was lucky, and water, no Coke. And so just living through that, I like, life was tough. And at certain moments in that process, I was just like, dang, like, why am I really doing this? And then that same thought of, I'd rather die trying to change my life than live into the reality I was given. And I just kept going. And that summer, I lost 30 pounds and came back to school, and people were like, what the heck happened to Jacob? Like first he can't walk, now he's walking, he's still chubby, now he's not chubby, like what the heck's going on? And I was like, I was just so grateful to myself for just doing all those things, and really proud. And like I kind of saw like at them back then as well, I was started to see like to help me get through the day, I was thinking like of the person I wanted to be, and I envisioned that person telling me to keep going and to keep doing the things that I was doing. And so eventually it came, and I was looking back and telling myself that same thing. I was trying to, I don't know if it makes sense to you guys, but like, I was just trying to communicate to my past self, thank you, and to keep going. Um, and so I went back to school, and I was content with that because I was surrounded by a new group of friends, and things were nice. I had fun, and I was breaking out of my shell. And then COVID happened. We were at home, and I was forced to just be in that same kind of what's the word, like isolated environment. And so I started thinking a lot again, and then started to realize, like, is this where my journey stops? Like, and just I tried to avoid it, and I did pretty good at it because, I mean, quarantine, all I did was just be on the game, show up to class sometimes, and just, I really had my own fun. But eventually, I had to go back to school. And so my freshman year of high school, I came back in person, and I remember, like, before, I didn't even have hair like this. So you'll see this hair right now, this was not here at all, growing up, because my mom would always give me buzz cuts. So I decided I'm not going to get buzz cuts no more. I'm gonna grow my hair out. And I grew it out and went to high school.
So
where am I? Huh? Go ahead.
So this is a product placement. So this episode is brought to you by Head and Shoulders. So tell people about your hair.
Honestly, y'all, I wash it twice a week. I just make sure. I really don't do much, y'all. I kind of just put conditioner in my shampoo.
Head and Shoulders.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Like, I obviously I pick it out, but like, and then I started to, like, just since we're talking about my hair, like, the reason I wear it out like this and continue to try to grow it out is because I've started to grow into, like, the understanding, like, I can't be afraid, and I have to love myself and all that there is about me. And so I wear my hair out like this as a statement to other people that this is who I am.
I didn't mean to derail your story there, but since we were talking about the hair, I had to get that.
Yeah. But yeah, I love my hair, and I love seeing other people with natural hair as well. And I think, what was it called? It's unique, and so yeah, people should grow their hair out and be proud of wherever they want, however they want.
Okay.
Yeah.
So getting back to your story,
Mm-hmm.
I know that you talked a little bit about your health situation.
Yeah.
That kind of had a big impact
Mm-hmm.
on you. But I know when we spoke, you had mentioned another situation that you went through in life that kind of created some difficulty for you
Mm-hmm.
growing up. Talk to us a little bit about how that unfolded and what you drew from that.
Okay. So it was around the time of my freshman year of high school, actually. So the year started working out, not consistently. But this was my last attempt to really do anything because I was inconsistent with working out after that first time trying to lose the weight. And so I went to work out, not just to lose 100 pounds, but just to take care of myself. And so I did it a little bit and was doing good progress. And I remember actually the day, so I had gotten into a car crash with my sister and with my sisters and my brother. And then we had to go back home. It was snowing at that time, and so I got a text from my dad telling me that if I'm okay, and just to make sure I'm doing okay. I mentioned my dad now because growing up, he was not really there as much. See, like, he had two families, and so most of the time he spent with the other family, but occasionally he would come in the night to meet with us. And I never really grew to know who my dad was, and to add on to that, he spoke Spanish and I didn't know Spanish, so I'm trying to learn Spanish now though, because I think it's important to know your culture. And so he talked to me, and I didn't really like him back then, to be honest, because of just the way we grew up and the lack of him being there. He did, and so I just kind of brushed him off, and then the next week I get out of school, and I get a text from my sisters telling me that, like, if I get a text, so I got a text from my sister saying that something went bad, something's bad, something along those sorts. And when I got a text from my sister saying that, I was like, yeah, they're always talking about something, like, I brushed it off. And then they told me my mom was gonna pick me up, and I was like, what do you mean? Okay, now I'm starting to question, like, what's actually going on. And then when I get in the car with my mom, my mom's crying. She can't even get the words out, and then she tells me that my father had an aneurysm and that he's in the hospital, and they're about to pull the plug on him, essentially, and we need to go right now and go see him. And so I was like, I didn't even know what was going on. Like, what's an aneurysm? We started driving to the hospital, and I just saw my mother be torn apart by that news. And I was thinking, like, what the heck, bro? Like, I've already gone through, like what's the word? Like, being obese, losing my legs, having problems with my family. And I didn't mention this, but we also had to move away from Bishop Arts because it just became unaffordable. And there were just constant things piling up one after another. And then this, and I was just like, why the heck does this keep happening? And so when I saw her, all I could do was really just hug her, because my mom was the most strongest person I knew, and seeing her be torn away tore me apart, and all I could do was just try to give her some comfort. And when we got there, they told us that I couldn't even go up there, and I had to stay down there, but my mom argued with them, and eventually they let me through. And I got into the room, and I saw my dad, and when I saw him, he just looked like he was there, but he wasn't there. Like, his body was there, but not his spirit, I guess, per se. And I don't mean that in religious context. I mean, like, he was only alive because the machines were making him alive. He was all swelling. He was starting to turn a different color, and on paper he was alive, but he wasn't. And so that kind of, like, did something to me. And we decided to stay the night. And when we stayed the night, when my mom fell asleep, I looked at him, and I was trying to see, like I was trying to talk to him, like, as if he understood what I was saying and stuff, to try to, I don't know, get something to him. I was thinking, like, maybe if I speak to him, a miracle will happen. I just wanted a miracle, basically. And so I asked God, I was like, please give me my father back, and I'll make this right. And what was it called? Whenever we started talking with one another, whenever I tried to speak to him, nothing would come back, and I was just devastated. And it hurt me because I had wished that I didn't treat him in the ways that I had did, and that we could have been something different. And I remember being up at night, always thinking that, and just praying that he would come back by some miracle. I was praying for that miracle I had gotten whenever I was paralyzed. I was praying for that miracle to happen again, but for him. But that miracle never came. And so Uh, he was buried about a week after, and my mother went through a lot doing that as well. We went through a lot, and thankfully, I mean, we were just very strong and had God with us with this whole journey, and we were able to do it. But it was a sad time. I think more so for me because my relationship with my father was rocky, but it existed more so than my siblings because my siblings didn't get to know him in the ways that I had did sometimes. But it did eventually lead me to um, becoming more of a leader and becoming more of a, like, I guess, man, quote unquote. Um,
I want to ask you about that.
yeah.
Because I know, first of all, I want to thank you for
Mm-hmm.
being willing to share that story, because it's got to be difficult to have to relive that
Mhm.
emotional experience. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in terms of the leadership portion, you went through a lot of things, but
Mm-hmm.
you started taking on leadership roles at an early age.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to start with in high school.
Yeah.
So you were part of an early college high school program at Dallas College.
Mm-hmm.
You started operating with SGA early. So tell me about that, your first experience with student government.
Okay. So it was my junior year. I had already processed what had gone through with my dad. Um, I processed it by working out and really just focusing and honing in on those skills and becoming this new person. Like, I used working out as a way to transform myself, like I had did when I was younger. And so I got there, kept doing it, but didn't have that social skills, that connection with people. And so I've always kind of been a person where it's like, I'm I'm like self-aware to a point where I know the things that I need to work on, and so I go down the list that I've created. And at this point in my life, I was working on my social skills, and I tried to do so by just trying to make friends, new friends, because my friends had left, they graduated, and so that was difficult. Didn't make much progress, but then uh, went to student life one day, found this person that I had seen running for the, I guess, vice president position, I think, and asked them about getting involved with their organization, and got involved as a senator for early college. Didn't really know what to expect at that point, but I knew that I wanted to be there because there was never that person for me. Growing up, I mean, not growing, well, growing up too, and then also throughout my high school experience, I never was able to look toward a person that understood my struggles, whether it was coming from that generational poverty, these health disorders, these social insecurities, or these experiences at the college. I never really had that person, and so I always tried to, I guess, do things in a way to become that person I wish I would have had for someone else. And so I ran for that position, and tried to do some things, some research. First, just really try to understand what it is the community that I'm representing is wanting. I knew from my perspective, but what were they thinking? And so I did some research. I hosted an event, trying to get people civically engaged by educating them on the political process. And things were shifting in the organization, and people were leaving. And so the presidency was open. I didn't want to be president at first, but I saw no one coming up to take the position. And then eventually someone did, but I valued this organization so much because I had built a family and I had built a relationship with not only the people I worked with, but also the communities I represented. And so I didn't want to let this organization go to someone who didn't know what they were doing. And so I tried to get a hold of that person and got connected with them. And then when I met them, I didn't see what I needed to see from a leader, because I knew what leadership looked like. Because thankfully, I had an amazing experience with my president, Natalie Lopez, who taught me the real, I guess, ways of leadership. And so she believed in me and she told me that I could do it, and I did it. And so I ran for the presidency, got that position. But I knew in my head that, like, who am I to be doing this? You know, I'm just some random kid who just got in by the whim of luck, I guess. But then I started to slowly realize that, I mean, these leaders aren't born. Like, they're cultivated through their experiences and their the way they perceive, or I guess the way that they persevere against the obstacles that are ahead of them, which was for me self-doubt, a lot of self-doubt. But by believing in myself and having a community of people who believed in me, like Natalie Lopez and then Dr. Hernandez and even Miss Liz, Carlos, everyone in my e-board, all those people really were my motivation to keep going when even I didn't think I could keep going. And I just kept going, and now I'm here. I got involved in the region as well because I saw an opportunity to connect with people on a grander scale and show people ways I've kind of overcame things and kind of embedded into the way we run a region.
I mean, first of all, shout out to Natalie Lopez.
Yeah, literally shout out to Natalie Lopez.
She's definitely a good example of a leader. Dr. Hernandez at your campus as well. Had a few conversations with him, and just his commitment to providing value inside the community is inspiring, and it's good to see that in a college president. We actually had a chance to do film an episode with him.
I mean, the list could go on, and I mean, one person for sure that I like to just, I don't even know how to express my thanks to this person, but Jorge Baldor, he's changed my life really, and so I can't really express it, but just say thank you to him.
Yeah. I mean, I just smile when I think about all the people that we know together. Yeah. Like some of the people you're mentioning, I know personally. I've got a chance to meet some of your board members as well. My question was going to be for you is when you look at all the people that had an impact on your life, on your leadership style, what are some of the things you got to take away from the different styles of leadership you got to see from the different types of approaches to things?
I think the biggest thing is that to never forget who you are and be authentic in the way you create change. Don't do it like, I'm coming here to film this episode not because I want to be on YouTube. I'm coming to be that person that I wish I would have had, that story that I could connect with, and hopefully be some use to someone going through the things that I went through, or maybe something similar. And so being very intentional with your values and knowing who you are, and being also mindful of like the infrastructure that's invested in you, so that you can carry that legacy, because people nowadays forget that they lack the emotional intelligence to recognize that they have not done everything on their own. At some point, in some ways, that everyone has impacted one another, and selfishness in these like independent society we live in, it has in consequence like disrupted communities, which is what we need. Communities of powerful, impactful people, not professions. And so that's what I think is the biggest thing. Being authentic, knowing my values, and never forgetting that you have to help, because like I wasn't the only one who paid the price to get me where I'm at now.
Yeah, it takes a group of people to anytime you try to accomplish anything of consequence, it's going to take a group of people, and it's always amazing when you have an opportunity to thank them for the contributions they've had. But I think the most powerful way of thanking them is by pushing forward and continuing to provide that inspiration for the next generation. It's a large part of the purpose behind what we do here, is just trying to get people to see that everybody has a story. You have a story. People can connect with some of the things that you've been through, and they can understand that it's okay to go through things. It's okay to not have everything be perfect. It's okay to work your way to where you are, because ultimately you're the one who creates who you are. You draw strength from who you are, who you choose to be when you hit obstacles. And so that's what's so inspiring about your story, is the fact that you made choices, intentional choices based on what you went through. You could very easily have decided to quit, but
Yeah.
we are all thankful that you have chosen not to.
Yeah, me too.
And we're going to be increasingly thankful because you have some ambitious goals, which
Yeah.
we're going to get into a little bit later.
Okay.
But I kind of want to, we don't have a whole lot of time, so I want to kind of march through a few things here. So
Okay.
you're currently serving as your chapter president right now
Yes.
for the Student Government
Yes, I am.
Association. And you're also serving as the TJC SGA Region 2
Yes.
secretary.
Mhm.
So tell me briefly about what drew you to those roles. And then, yeah, just tell me about that first.
I think I kind of mentioned it already. It was just being that person that I wish I always had. Someone who can understand and authentically create that change that is needed. On the chapter level, I know I told the story with Natalie and me stepping up for the presidency. In the region, for me, it was just kind of a similar situation. No one was coming up. And I was like, man, why not me, you know? And so I just went up and did it, and now I'm here. The main focus I think that I am trying to create with my leadership is just collectively healing, whether it's in the like artwork we create, the experiences we have with one another, the conversations we have, the initiatives we take on. It's all in some way just to help people heal, because everyone's going through things, and if we all put something to the plate of like healing and even recognizing that we have to heal, then the world will be better. And so starting with yourself, starting also with helping others is like, you know, what I'm focused on.
I love that. Yeah, and that kind of leads nicely into the next thing I want to talk about. So recently in October, you decided to join the Empowerment Through Mindset Foundation. You're currently serving as our community programs officer. So tell us a little bit about what made you specifically to decide to join, and then what impact you plan on making in that role.
Okay. I guess the first thing that would draw me to join was you, Jared. I mean, when you offered me the opportunity, it was because I believed in this mission. I believed in the work we were doing on the region, and so I recognized the value that this organization had and the opportunity that I had to create a change on a broader scale, not just in education, but in the communities that are around it. And so my plans now are to back to being that person, being that experience, being that that thing that I wish I would have had. My thing is only to just add my twist and add some of the perspectives that people like, or the people who need to be a part of that conversation. Like, add what is the things that they want to be pushed. I'm mainly just focused on providing the platform, and having people guide the ship, basically. I know that it's not going to be just me. I've kind of like, even though like for so long I was like, I'm so ambitious and I'm driven to like change the world and all this stuff, but like I know it's not going to be me. It's going to be everyone in this world that does something. In my part, I would just want to do. In my part, I would just like to facilitate the conversations, facilitate the experiences, and just provide some perspective from not only myself and the communities that need to be a part of that conversation.
Yeah, I like that. And what I like about your story is that when people look at it and they see what you're doing now, what you plan on doing in the future, it allows them to ask themselves the same question that you asked earlier: why not me? Right? What prevents me from being that person who steps up and takes the lead? And that's what we want our audience to take away from your story primarily is, why not you? Right? What prevents you from taking the time? Don't wait till somebody gives you permission. You know, take the opportunity now. Step up, lead, grow, become the person that you are. Use that as the strength behind whatever you accomplish in life. And so, you know, that's just a huge part of what the foundation's about. But I want to talk about as well, you have some goals for the future.
Yes, I do.
So like even farther down the line. So you're 17 now.
Yes.
Tell me about one of your biggest goals that you have.
I guess it's kind of shifted in a lot like the recent years, but originally I kind of was lost in what I wanted to do, but now I guess my main thing is I just want to heal, and help others heal, and do so in the most highest way that I can. And whether it's like through counseling, through politics, through community work. At the end of the day, all I want is to help my family, help the community that I come from, and the communities that can relate to the experiences that I've gone through. Just heal and inspire them to be the change, to find like the power that they have within themselves to be the change we need in society.
Yeah, and that's worth that's worth aspiring to, and there's so many different ways that you can do that. And I'm excited to see some of the programs that you're going to create to help infuse that into the community, starting here in the Dallas, Texas area and continuing out from there. And so thank you for the work that you do. I do appreciate it. I've watched you work for some time on the region level, on your chapter level, and now here with the foundation. And I think your future is extremely bright. So, and I can't wait to see what you accomplish. So, are there any parting words of advice that you'd like to give to our audience for young students who are struggling to decide what they want to do with their life? What would you tell them as advice?
I say listen to yourself. Like really try to listen to who you are. Find out what that voice is really saying and why it's saying those things. I can't tell you like what to do because I'm not you and I don't know you, but you know yourself better than you know anyone else, and you must love yourself more than you love anyone else. And so in order to do so, you must know what it is that you and it's like the second person in you wants, and guide your life based on that. And be grateful and be optimistic, and then also be realistic.
So thank you, Jacob, for taking the time to join us today. Appreciate it. I know it took a lot for us to get this. If you found this episode to be helpful, please like, subscribe, comment, hit the notification bell. Always remember, mindset matters only
For the hard working.
That's right.